Hey, good morning. Joe here. It's Firearms Friday. We're in the ammo dump shooting range at Larry's on North Memorial Parkway. So what did you just witness? You witnessed a concept called parallax. And if you're a shooter with any kind of optic, you need to understand parallax, what it is and what it impacts you in terms of your shooting, especially longer range shooting. Parallax has been with us for a long time, and I want to use this example here to show you. This is a really old generation camera. Okay, now this is before we had iPhones and everything. But this had parallax problems because when you look through this camera, you were not looking through the lens, you were looking through what's called the rangefinder. So you were looking through this, but the film was taking a picture through this lens right here. So that created parallax because you were not on center then. Well, the same thing is true these days with firearms. So we can look at firearms and we find out when we put a scope on something, such as on this Smith & Wesson revolver here, we add a scope and that creates a certain amount of parallax. Now, typically when you buy a scope made for a handgun like this, these are set up for parallax at 25 yards. Typically when you put a scope on something like this rifle here, this is set up for parallax free at 100 yards, okay? So that's just typical, and they come different ways. But what I want to show you this morning is how important that is. And it's important whenever you're lining up your optic, whatever kind it is or whatever firearm it is, so that you know where your head placement is. Now that's really critical. You saw in that example early on there with our sight there, we were using that, and you could see that that was moving around, and that depends on where you put your head and how this gun is set up. So you need to understand parallax for that. So some guns like this one right here comes with a parallax adjustment on the scope. Now this one can come down to 50 feet and go all the way up to infinity, basically at 300 feet, okay? So something like this would be very helpful if you're doing long range shooting. Maybe you're going hunting out of the mountains someplace out in the west or something, but you need to understand parallax so that you can set your optic up where you'll be on target. So the further out you go like that, the more important it is to make sure that your parallax is set correct and you're putting your head in the exact same position every time you shoot. If you move your head from side to side, up and down, move your head around, that moves your optics, so then your parallax kicks in and you're going to miss your deer, whatever it is you're shooting at the distance in. All right, so that's a real quick primer on parallax. I hope this is helpful for you. But if you're shooting any kind of distance with any kind of optic, you need to really understand how parallax affects you so that you can be a better shot then. All right, that's it for this week. Remember, all of us here at Larry's want you to be safe and stay armed. Bye-bye.